Now this cut of meat here, as ugly as it may be, is actually a brisket from a cow that we had processed. I know it's ugly, but hey, it still gotta get cooked too. Can't let nothing go to waste. But you'd be surprised how it turned out. Even though I didn't put me slicing it at the end of this video, but at the end of the video, there would be a picture of it cut up, and it actually tasted better than the store-bought brisket. It sure did. I'm right here. I'm just trimming a little fat off, some of that fat, just to get it prepped. And then it's so thin, I'm gonna end up folding it just like that and tying it together as I cook it. You'll see. All right, now here we're gonna go ahead and throw some mustard on just to help the season to bind well. And for me, when I buy mustard for smoking meats like this, I just buy the off-brand mustard. I mean, it's just to hold the seasoning to the meat, so you ain't got to get the most expensive brand. But that's just me. No sense in buying a $6-7 bottle of mustard just to put it on meat, because you ain't gonna taste it anyway in the meat. It's just to help the seasoning bind together. So don't go buy the most expensive mustard. All right, and for this brisket, I end up using the bone sucking sauce. Great seasoning. If you hadn't tried it, you should try it. And yes, this is also the ugly brisket. It's the from the cow we had processed. But like I said, it turned out great, tasted great. So, but you're just gonna season both sides, try to get it nice and packed on. Right here, I'm just pressing it down just to help the season hold on. And you're just gonna flip it over, and you're gonna do the same thing on this side. Don't be afraid of the seasoning. Now here we have the store-bought one, and right now I'm just gonna go ahead and just trim a little of the fat off. That's what I'm gonna be doing here. I'm just taking a look at it, seeing what I want to take off and what I want to keep on. Just gonna trim some of the fat off, and even though fat holds in the flavor or lock in the flavor, it also sometimes can hinder the smoke penetrating the meat. I recently learned that too, and I'm just gonna trim some of it off, get it to what I think I want, and we're all different. None of us are gonna cook the same. None of us are gonna trim the same. It's basically up to your preference. Fat has been trimmed, and we're gonna go ahead and get some mustard on this bad boy as well, both sides. Just gonna rub it in. Like I said, the mustard is just to help the meat, the seasoning bind to the meat. That's it. It's like you ain't gonna taste it. It just helps the season hold together. So that's why I keep stressing, just, hey, get the cheapest mustard out there. You can't go wrong. Yeah, and rub both sides. Get both sides rubbed down. And for this brisket, I use a local brand which is called Magnolia. It's a smoked barbecue rub. It's pretty good too. I've used it before on here, and it's pretty good. So I always go back to it. Same thing here. You're gonna go ahead and you want to coat both sides of the brisket. This one is a bigger cut of meat, so I'm gonna put it a little bit heavier, trying to get all the edges, corners, and everything else. And I'm gonna flip this over. And for the purpose of this video length, I'm not gonna show you the entire coating or putting seasoning on, because this is a long video as is. And you know I couldn't fire that smoker up without putting the pork shoulder on there, also known as Boston butt or pulled pork. But for this video, I'm gonna do it a little different, because I got a pulled pork recipe on my page already that you can go back and look at. But one of my subscribers by the name of Thomas Thrasher suggested that I move the entire fat cap for to allow the meat, the smoke to actually penetrate the meat better. And I'm gonna give it a try. I'm gonna give it a try here. I'm gonna remove pretty much most of all the fat. And Thomas Thrasher, if you're watching, this one's for you, buddy. This one's for you. Fat cap is removed. We're gonna go ahead and put mustard on it, all over, sides, and flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. Like I said, this is just to help the season bind to the meat. I will not bore you with this entire process, so we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next step. This pork shoulder, I'm using a blend of seasoning that I put together, and I have already pretty much seasoned both sides and the edges of this shoulder. And we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next step and getting the meats on the grill. Even though I didn't show it on the camera, the ugly brisket there, you see folded over and tied off with strings, as I said, right there in the front on your left. All right, it's been an hour, and we're gonna go ahead and give her her first spritz with apple cider vinegar and apple juice. Yep, this is 2 hours in. We're gonna go ahead and give her a spritz and close her back down. The spritz I'm using is apple cider vinegar and apple juice. Another hour later, we're gonna spritz it again with apple cider vinegar and apple juice. Say this is the 4th hour. We're gonna go ahead and give it a spritz again. So this is hour 5, the 5th hour. Looking delicious. Gonna go ahead and spritz it again. It's 6 hours. We're 6 hours in. I'll go ahead and give it a spritz and keep trucking along. This is hour 7. Eight hours. I'm gonna go ahead and pull these bad boys off and wrap them. Let them finish cooking. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get these 2 briskets wrapped up and get them back on the grill. Nice color. I mean, I don't really want them to get any darker than what they are right now. So, and I chose to use foil because foil will help speed up the cooking process for this brisket. Believe it or not, because I use foil, I think this brisket finished a little over 10 hours. The last one I cooked, it took me about 14, 15 hours to cook. All right, here's the ugly duckling. Got a nice crust on it, nice color to it too. We're gonna go ahead and get this bad boy wrapped up and back on the grill. Alrighty, they're all back on. Well, at least these last two are back on. The pork been there. Let's go ahead and let them finish out. Pork is almost done. I've been slow cooking these. That's why it's taking so long. It normally takes me anywhere from like 6, maybe 7 hours to cook a butt. But this one took me like 9 hours because I slow cooked it in the beginning and I turned the heat up towards the end. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get this bad boy pulled apart. And that bone just come out, it's come out so easy and it's so clean. And this thing is still piping hot too. It only sit 1 hour. I should have gave it 2 hours, but we're gonna do it. All right, for time purposes, I tore it apart off camera just to save time because like this video is long, pretty lengthy as it is. But right here, I'm just adding the sauce to the meat. And then I'm gonna go ahead and get her all mixed up good. All right, here it is. All mixed up, ready to be served, ready to be eaten. Don't she look delicious? All right, about 10 and a half hours or so later, the briskets are off and they're in this cooler. They're gonna sit a couple of hours and let them finish doing their thing.